Thank you. Thank you so much for this introduction and inviting me for this conference. Of course, it's very early here, 5 o'clock in the morning in the US, but still, I'm very glad to be here with you. So my topic today is kind of unique. Of course, I don't see anybody's face. It's kind of talking to myself. Um, It's kind of normal for India not to show faces. Yes, switch off everything, microphones, do your things in between, and then, well, there's something there on the side talking, yeah? Which is okay. But it's good to see your faces and to see your reactions and to see your interaction on this topic. Otherwise, what is this all about? Yeah. Check, check, check. It's done. That is finished. This, we did this. Okay. Congratulations. You did everything and nothing at the same time. So if we don't engage in this profound knowledge, and especially knowledge of the Veda, of the Upanishads, yes, of this profound heritage which India possesses, has, and offers to the world, if we do not really dive deep into that knowledge, then we really do not fulfill our purpose. And India remains, third developing country, some kind of. If India takes this knowledge forward, and you young people dive into it and find the meaning in it for yourself and for the world and for the future development of consciousness, then India fulfills its purpose. Yeah. So it's not a small topic. It's a profound topic, how consciousness functions. And there are no better scriptures than Upanishads in this case, yes. Especially Aitareya. Aitareya Upanishad is a unique creation by Mahidasa Aitareya. He was mocked by many that his mother was Itara. Itara means other, outcast. His father was Rishi, but his mother was outcast. And because of this, he was mocked always. So he decided to call the whole tradition Aitareya by his mother's name. This is the left of this profound, rebellious spirit, which is always looking for the truth, whatever it may be. Yeah, rejecting all kind of conventions, not accepting anything conventional. So we should not fall into the trap of conventions. This is what I want to tell you as young people. Look always for fresh perception, for your own perception of this profound knowledge. There's much to learn there. So with this simple kind of introduction, seeing more and more faces coming back to life, they were hiding there and now they are coming forward because there's something for them to be also, not just for some knowledge, academic, blah, 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 finished, done. Yeah, there is more to learn. So Aitareya, if you look at Aitareya, you will see a profound vision of creation. Some of you know the text. Aitareya Upanishad, nobody knows the text, yeah, most probably, or approximately at least. So I want to go with us through the text first, just to show you how beautifully it is laid out. By the way, Shankaracharya considers this text to be, especially the first Adhyaya, which is actually part of the Aitareya Aranyaka. It is fourth Adhyaya in Aitareya Aranyaka, but first in Aitareya Upanishad. So he considers this Adhyaya to be for the initiate, a secret knowledge, knowledge only for those who really know the truth. And it is not easy to see, to find. So there the creation starts with stages, the first stage, yes. Are you Sanskrit scholars, all of you? Sanskrit department, yeah? I can quote from Sanskrit, most probably.
Yeah, there are few from Sanskrit, sir. there may be few from Sanskrit. There is a diverse crowd from Sanskrit, philosophy, psychology, and also.
All right. Nice. Nice. So, well, then I will not insist on Sanskrit, but anyhow, this Aitareya is starting with this profound vision that Atman was alone at the beginning. Atma va idam eka evagra asit. None yet kinchana mishat. Nothing was there yet moving. Saikshata, and he saw and willed. This is when there is nothing yet there, then seeing and willing is the same action. Lokanus rejayiti, may I create these worlds. Saiman lokanas rejata, ambho marichir maram apo dombhav parena divam dyav pratishthantariksham marichaya prithivi maro ya adhastat ta apaha. So she created these worlds in this way. The upper ocean, the lower ocean, ambhah, the higher waters, the lower waters, apas. In between there is marichis, the space. The Diauch, the heaven, is the bottom of the upper ocean. The earth is the top of the lower ocean. And in between there is space. Saikshata imenu lokaha. These are my worlds. Lokapalan nusrejayite. May I create the dwellers of the world, so the protectors. Lokapalas. Interesting word, usually translated as dwellers. Yeah, or protectors. I translate it as fillers. They fill in these worlds. The worlds are there, but this has to be filled with consciousness. Sodbhyeva Purusham Samudharitya Murchayat, and he pulled out from the lower waters the Purusha, Tamabhyatapat Tasya Bhitaptasya Mukham Nirabhidyata Yathandam Mukhadvakvachognih, and so on. So he pulled and formed the Purusha, heated him with his consciousness, and the faculties of consciousness broke forth one by one. What is important here is that Atman actually shaped Purusha for the sacrifice. He sacrificed his own formation of consciousness for the sake of embodiment. So Purusha is not something that we easily accept as something which is always there. Of course, it is always there for us because we are representatives of this consciousness. But that was made by Atman for the sake of embodiment. Without the embodiment, there is no Purusha. Yeah? We later in Sankhya, we think of Purusha as always there, and in Sankhyaik paradigm, we think about it differently. But in pre-Sankhyaik, in Aitareya, it is a formation. In the Rig Veda, also Purusha is sacrificed. And all the elements of this consciousness become the world. They are the Lokapalas. So what happened to Purusha heated up? His mouth broke forth. From his mouth, Agni was born. Yes. From his mouth speech was born, from speech Agni. Tasya mukha dva kvachognih. Nasike nirabhidyetam nasikabhyam pranadvayu. His nostrils broke forth, from the nostrils prana, from prana vayu. His eyes, akshani nirabhidyetam, akshibhyam chakshusha aditya. His eyes broke forth, from his eyes vision, seeing, and from the seeing sun was born. Karnau nirabhidyetam, karnabhyam shrotram shrotradishaha. So his ears broke forth, from ears hearing came, and from hearing space, the directions. Notice that space, light, everything came into being from his faculties. He wanted to see, that's why light was born. He wanted to hear, that's why space came into action. So everything depends on the faculties, and not other way around, that we have space and suddenly we have hearing from nowhere. No. Space is filled with his need of hearing, comprehension. The light is nothing but the result of him, the divine consciousness, wanting to see himself. So these stages are profound. So these faculties, once they were created, Taeta Devataha Sreshtaha, and they call them Devatas. These are the Devatas, the faculties of consciousness. Asmin Mahatyarnave Prapatan, they've plunged into this inconscient ocean. And there they were tormented, tam ashanapi pasabhyaman vavarjat. They were tormented by hunger and thirst. So in the lowest inconscient ocean where there is no consciousness, there is no fulfillment of being and bliss. There is a lack of being and bliss. And they were tormented by that lack, hunger and thirst. And so they cried from there, from below, to him, the Atman above, to bring them the habitat in which they can dwell and partake of food or partake of enjoyment. Ta enam abruvan ayatanam naf prajana nihiti tasmin yasmin pratishtha annam adameti, in which established we will partake of food. So he brought them one by one, different beings. Tabhyo gama nayata bruvan navaino yamalamiti. He brought them the cow first, and they said, it is not good enough for us. Tabhyo shvam anayata bruvan navaino yamalamiti. He brought them the horse, and they said, it's not good enough for us. Tabhyach Purusham anayata bruvan sukritam bateti. He brought them the Purusha, the form of man, and they said, this is perfectly done. Purushovava sukritam. Purusha is indeed perfectly done. Ta bravit yatayatanam pravishateti. And he told them, enter him as your habitat. Now notice there is the whole layout of the evolution of consciousness through different species. So we started from nowhere, from the inconscient ocean, building slowly monocellular organism, amoeba, then we built more complex system in amoeba. All these faculties are already there, crying for their fulfillment. They need habitat where they can be fulfilled as the universal Purusha consciousness faculties. They want to be fulfilled, and the whole evolution starts moving forward, developing the habitat. And finally, when they come to the habitat of Purusha, they are satisfied. And he tells them, enter him as your habitat. So Agni Vak Bhutva Mukham Pravishad. Agni became speech and entered his mouth. Vayu Prano Bhutva Nasike Pravishad. Vayu became prana, breath, and entered his nostrils. Aditya Chakshur Bhutva Akshini Pravishat. Aditya became his vision and entered his eyes. Disha Shrotram Bhutva Karnau Pravishan, and the space became hearing and entered his ears. So he was reassembled from the universal faculties into the individual formation. The whole idea is here that the universal Purusha becomes now in the individual form, reassembled through this fall of the faculties into the inconscient and the rising from below. He came into being into individual form. And this is interesting because this is the very idea of creation. Bahusyam, may I be many. He wanted to be many. How to be many? This is the process, how he became many. He delegated his faculties of consciousness out universally into the inconscient ocean, into the unconsciousness even, where there is no consciousness. And from there, slowly, they evolved species by species to the human form. And now we inhabit these faculties of universal Purusha. We think it is my seeing, my speech, my thought. No, it is universal's Purusha's faculties. This is what it is. We all share his sight, his hearing, his word. That's why we can communicate and live together. We are individual frames separate from each other, sharing the same universal faculties of universal Purusha. What a beautiful vision, yeah, of oneness. And then there is the whole chapter, which I will skip for now for the lack of time, of the creation through death, of how he embodied himself in Murti. This must be the compulsory literature for all psychologists, philosophers, and all people, because this is the knowledge we all need. And then, interestingly, when all this was embodied in the Murti, and there is the birth, there is the description how the birth is taking place through a man and woman, how the seed is casted, and everything else. It's amazing, the whole story of the birth of man and his 3 oblations onto the fire, how the conception is taking place, what it means, how the boy is born, how it is supported by his mother, how he is dying, and his final oblation into the funeral fire, because his traveling continues. This is the traveling of the soul. And then there is this question rising, which is amazing. Saikshata katham nu idam madrites yad iti. How is that possible, Atman thinks, that this what I created, so to say, through Purusha in his faculties, stays without me, lives without me. Saikshata katarena prapadya iti. And he thought, by what way I should enter into it, into that creation. Saikshata yedi vacha bhivyaharitam, if by the speech it is spoken, yadi pranena bhipranitam, if by the breath it is breathed, yadi chakshusha drishtam, by the sight it is seen, yadi shrotrena shrutam, if it is heard by the hearing, yadi tvacha sprishtam, if it is touched by the skin, Yadi manasadhyatam, if it is thought by the mind, yad yapanena bhyapanitam, if it is breathed out by the breathing out, yadi shishnena vistrishtam, if it is created by procreatory organ, kohamiti, when who am I? Where am I in all this? It is done already by all these faculties. This independent individual creation form exists with universal faculties functioning by himself, then who am I in all this? Where am I? This is his first surprise that objectively exists already. And where is he in all this? Where am I in all this? Look, complexity is already, fullness of life is already here. And he wonders why. Sa etam simanam vidarya ita advara prapadyata. And he split this Brahmandra here, Siman, this division, and through that split, through that door, he entered into the being from the top. Saisha vidritir nama dvastadeto nandanam. That is the door, which is the joy, the bliss coming from above. And I will not quote the whole thing, which is amazing here about Indra and about what else do you want to speak here in this world, he says from within, when he finds himself within this individual formation, this universal Atman finds himself in this individual formation. And this ends the most sacred knowledge, which Shankaracharya mentions for the initiates. And there we continue with the birth, physical birth. And finally, we come to the chapter which I want to address today. I already nearly spent my time. But since we are online, I will drag a little longer.
So that's completely fine. You can go ahead.
Yes, great, thank you. Koyam Atmeti, this is the last chapter. Who is this Atman? Now he is asking from the embodied position of our faculties. Not he is asking, who am I here in all these faculties? We asking, Koyam Atmeti, Vayam Upasmahe, that we worship here. Katarasa Atma, what of these two is Atman? Yenava Pashyati, by which one sees, Yenava Shrinoti, by which one hears, Yenava Gandhana Jigrati, by which we perceive the sense, Yenava Svadu cha Vijanati, or we distinguish what is sweet and not sweet. And then the answer follows. And this is the topic of my presentation today. Amazing answer. Yad etad hridayam manaschaitat. That which is in this heart, that is manas. And then the whole list of the faculties of consciousness. Samjnanam, ajnanam, vijnanam, prajnanam, medha, drishti, dhriti, matir, manisha, jutik, smritik, sankalpa, kratorasu, kamo, vasha, iti sarvanyevaitani, prajnanasya namadheyani bhavanti. These are all the names of prajnana. What are the names? Samjnanam, ajnanam, vijnanam, prajnanam. About these four I want to speak today. I leave all the rest out. So what are these four? They are first on the list. Samjnanam. And notice they all have jnana root. Usually you say gyan in India. But it is jnana, yes, difficult to pronounce. Jnana is knowledge. And this knowledge is a bit different from Veda or Vidya or from Chetas or other forms of knowledge. If it depends on the root, yes. Veda, Vidya, is from vid, to acquire, to discover. Yeah? It's a discovery of some kind, nearly objective or subjective discovery. Jnana is, Sri Aurobindo translates this term as self-knowledge or self-realization. It is not the knowledge which you acquire by looking for. It is the knowledge which comes from your own realizing yourself. Even Panini, when he deals with jnanam term in his sutras, he speaks about this. You cannot say, for example, pustakasya jnanam, knowledge of the book. You can say only pustakena jnanam, the knowledge by the book. Why? Because it's self-realization. You realize with the help of the book. By the book, you realize yourself. But Veda, it's very different. Vidya. Vidya is a self-discovery, or the discovery which you acquire. And from here we have also the sense of vitta as some obtainment. Yeah? By the way, Panini also doesn't distinguish between vindati, 6th class, and veti, 2nd class. It's for the scholars of Sanskrit. Between these two, he says it's the same root. So acquirement, what you acquire, obtaining, yeah, piling up, even, Vitta Kosha as the bank. Vitta Kosha. Vitta is from root vid. What was acquired, obtained. Interesting. The same root. Why I'm saying this so long? Because I want to come to root jnanam. So this self-realization with 4 different prefixes. Sam jnanam, as Sri Aurobindo translates it as the knowledge by identity. I will come to it in a minute. Samjnanam, total knowledge, yeah? Essential sense. Actually, samjnanam, it is the same as consciousness. Consciousness. Please share the link. Something popped up. Con is some, the same as in Latin, in Sanskrit, some togetherness, yes, go. gathering together, holding on to oneself, identifying with oneself knowledge, samjnanam. Ajnanam is kind of following it objectively, as if getting out of oneself towards the object of sense. Vijnanam is, it's always misunderstood, this term. Vijnanam is actually supermind, comprehensive knowledge, when all the details are known to you in all the varieties. And prajnanam is objective knowledge. So now I will come to these terms in Sri Aurobindo's parlance, because he deals with them extensively, and this would be very interesting for us to learn. What are these for? Because they define all secret operations of consciousness, all four simultaneously needed for consciousness to function. First, may I project this something for you that you will see, because it's a difficult text?
Yes, sir, for sure.
Screen share, okay. And then I have to select, what is this? Oh, it doesn't allow or something. Application, I see. I see. But where is my window?
Sir, I have made you the co-host. You can share the screen now.
Okay. I do not see it. Oh, here it is. It's just very bad on the screen. Tell me when you see it.
It's visible, sir.
Okay. So, this is the definition of samjnana. Sri Aurobindo's definition, which is very psychological for the students of psychology. This is a gem. Actually, on this you can build your not only PhDs, all your life. Everything begins with a vibration or movement, the original kshobha or disturbance. If there is no movement of the conscious being, it can only know its own pure static existence. You can imagine Atman alone. There is nothing but he himself. Nothing moves. So what Atman knows as in pure mirror only himself. Yes, there is no other knowledge. Without vibration or movement of being in consciousness, there can be no act of knowledge. If there is no movement of being in consciousness, there is no act of knowledge, and therefore sense. Sense is the act of knowledge. Without vibration or movement of being in force, there can be no object of sense to know. If the force is not manifesting the being as an object of sense, to know it by consciousness, there cannot be such object. Movement of conscious being as knowledge, becoming sensible of itself as movement of force. In other words, the knowledge separating itself from its own working, to watch that and to take it into itself again by feeling. This is the basis of universal samjnana. This is true both for our internal and external operations. So what is he saying? He says that the same consciousness force which manifested the object of sense and sense, which is one and the same, separating its own perception of the object and taking it into itself anew to know it again by feeling, that is consciousness which operates in this world. So that's why we can come to knowledge, to know anything. We can say, oh, now I know, and now I finally know. What you finally know? You discovered that what you already knew from the beginning, which was kind of separated within your own being. And now that separation is removed, and you arrive at that oneness of consciousness force. Amazing. This is how it works. And now he gives us a very interesting description of the knowledge by identity. I become anger by a vibration of conscious force acting as a nervous emotion, and feel the anger that I have become by another movement of conscious force acting as light of knowledge. So on one side I am angry, something is trembling in me powerfully, and the other side of me knows that that is anger within me, both. I am conscious of my body because I have become the body. That the same force of conscious being, which has made this form of itself, this presentation of its workings, knows it in that form, in that presentation. Oh. I can know nothing except what I myself am. This is a revelation. If I know others, it is because they are also myself, because myself has assumed these apparently alien presentations, as well as that which is the nearest to my own mental center. All sensation, all action of sense is thus the same in essence, whether external or internal, physical or psychical. So there is no other way to know, only to identify with oneself. This is samjnana, knowledge by identity. If you don't identify this cup with yourself, then how do you know that cup is there? It may be in some other room. You have to bring it to your own awareness, identify with yourself, and bring the knowledge, so to say. And here he gives the definition. Samjnana is the contact of consciousness with an image of things by which there is a sensible possession of it in its substance. Substance has to come closer to substance. If prajnana can be described as outgoing of apprehensive consciousness, we will come to prajnana in a minute. To possess its object in conscious energy, to know it, then samjnana can be described as inbringing movement of apprehensive consciousness, which draws the object placed before it back to itself so as to possess it in conscious substance, to feel it. I know this is the gem. If you crack this, you will understand how consciousness works. So for me to know anything, I have to bring this object, image of things, or object of sense, into my self-identity, and through my feeling of it, feeling that this cup is heavy and there is water there and I can drink water and so on. This identity is the first step of knowledge, without which there is no knowledge. There is only one knowledge, knowing through myself. I can know anything. I cannot know things which are not connected to me, which I am not inbringing apprehensively. We will come to this apprehensive and comprehensive cognition. Apprehensive is in the form, in the self, in the being. This is the being separate from me, and I have to identify it with myself. I'm not yet comprehending what it is. I'm just becoming it, as it were. Prajnana is outgoing. Now we come to prajnana. Prajnana is the consciousness which holds an image of things before it as an object with which it has to enter into relations and possess by apprehension and analytic and synthetic cognition. So to say, I know it as such, separate from me. I know it as myself through feeling, and not because I feel it. And I know it separate, cup, which I can break, analyze, look at, touch, yes, and so on, separate from me. But these two operations are needed for consciousness to operate. I have to identify with myself, know it by feeling, and I have to analyze it as such, separate from me, not as myself. There is Vijnana. Let us analyze these two, and that would be the end of my presentation. Vijnana is original, comprehensive consciousness which holds an image of things in its essence, totality, and parts and properties. It is the original, spontaneous, true, and complete view of it, which belongs properly to the supermind, and of which mind has only a shadow in its highest operations of comprehensive intellect. What is the difference between apprehensive cognition and comprehensive? Comprehensive is understanding. So now, since I am feeling it as myself and I see this object as such, and now I start to understand that this object is that heavy, that there is water in it, that that water can be drunk, that I can take by hand this cup and drink the water. And I will manage it. I know it. And I know that this cup I can put on the table and will stand also. And the table is wooden. I know it. And it stands on the floor. I know it. I understand it. And the floor is in the house, and the house is on the earth, and the earth is in the universe, and running around the sun, and sun around the galaxy, and everything is expanding in my life and your life and everybody. And the screen is looking at me here, and with your face is looking puzzled. What is he talking about? All this is comprehensive knowledge. All is reassembled with the cup, me taking it. I know what it is made of, that it will hold the liquid, that I can put it and drink it, and I know how to drink. Everything is connected to this cup, and this is Vijnana, comprehensive knowledge, which holds an image of things in its essence, totality, and parts and properties. Without this knowledge, Vijnana, consciousness cannot operate either. I cannot identify this object with myself meaningfully. It's a meaningful connection. And then we come to Ajnana. Ajnana is the operation by which consciousness dwells on an image of things so as to govern and possess it in power. These four, therefore, are the basis of all conscious action. What does it mean to possess it in power? It's outgoing comprehensive. So we have ingoing comprehensive and outgoing comprehensive consciousness, which means that I subjectively can violate this object. Not I now identified with myself, I feel it, I know it is such, separate from me, I know that, understand all the relations with this object and what it can do, Vijnana, and now with my outgoing Ajnana, command, Ajna chakra, the will chakra, I can actually reach out with my hand, take it and bring it and drink. Or I can drop it on the floor and break it. Or I can do anything with this object subjectively, whatever. And this is also part of the operation of consciousness. So these four are always present in every action, in every physical, vital, mental, psychological, inner, outer, doesn't matter. They are four which must be present there. So the simple example I will tell you. I will take my glasses off and put them back on my nose. To do that, I have to feel the glasses, that they're in proximity with myself, that they are separate from myself. That's the object as such, prajnana, that they can be on my face and I can't take them out and put them on the table, vijnana. And I can do it with my subjective need of this, and I'm doing it. To do this action, all four must be there. Now you know what samjnana, ajnana, vijnana, prajnana is. Secret operations of consciousness. And as Sri Aurobindo says elsewhere, there are secret operations in us, in our subconscious and superconscious selves, which precede this action. He describes the action in the text. But of these we are not aware in our surface being, and therefore for us they do not exist. If we knew of them, our whole conscious functioning would be changed. If you start observing them in action, you will become aware of many more things. Your functionality will change. You become conscious. Here I will stop. And if you have any questions, comments, please. I'm already over 15 minutes over 16.
Are there any questions on the floor? Okay, so I have one question. As a psychology student, I want to know how can psychologists meaningfully study the metaphysical concept like those found in Upanishad, like given with the empirical and the replicable nature of the psychological sciences.
You see, this idea of separation on metaphysics and psychology came later in the mental structure of consciousness. But before, there was no difference. Metaphysics and psychology were one and the same subject in the Upanishads. Upanishads are supremely psychological, yeah? and purely intuitively metaphysical. And they are not describing scientifically the, you know, in the outer meaning of the chemistry and physics, the creation. They describe the creation psychologically, and that is metaphysics. So, in a way, being without metaphysics, psychology cannot exist. What are you trying then to describe? Where is your vision of the world? How do you see the world? If you don't see the world, what are you really trying to psychologize? Yeah? Whatever comes to your mind or feeling, that's not going to work. You can write millions of books and never reach to the end of the knowledge. You need the framework, understanding. And this framework is given to us by the great seers, yes, who actually forged the whole civilization. And these are not small texts, these are intuitive texts. And they require dwelling in your own perception, your own discovery. It's not the answer what you're looking for. You're looking for the question. You need to have a question, not the answer. The question will drive all your answers. Yeah? You will arrive at more and more answers, and always new answers will come to you. But if you don't have the question and have only the answers, well, there is nowhere to go. Just stagnation. Find your question.
I have so one more question. What would be your suggestions to a psychologist that how we can integrate the ancient philosophical concepts such as those are in the Upanishad into the research or maybe in the practice? How we can do it or how we can integrate it?
Study Sanskrit first of all. You have to go deep into Sanskrit, not just this surface. Surface does not work. You need to go deeper into the roots, into the concepts which rishis represent. You have to look into etymological system, how roots build up the whole tapestry of relations. This is very comprehensive knowledge. Sanskrit itself is a knowledge. It's not the language, actually. It's the knowledge. Yeah, if you dive deep into it, you will see how much you learn. You cannot imagine. It's a treasure. It's a treasure, you know, map. You just follow and you find more and more new treasures. And it's unending. It's amazing how it is built. This is first, of course,
Okay.
Sanskrit, and then, of course, texts.
Okay. So there's a question in the chat box for you. What are the Vedic research methods you found so far in the existence of soul?
Can you say it again? There's something at the end. I lost it.
The question says, what are the Vedic research methods you found so far in the existence of soul?
In the existence of soul, you can only do psychological, your own self-discovery. You cannot find it in text. Is only a helper, so to say, not totally so. It's like a finger pointing to where you have to go. Yes, and if you are not going there, if you are stuck only with the text, like you are professor of Upanishads, it's not good enough for us. You should be not professor of psychology or philosophy. You have to be philosopher and psychologist. That means you are the field of your own research. This is you who you are studying yourself, actually. The texts are here to help you to know yourself. And if you don't see that link, then you will never find anything. There is no methodology to discover your soul or some kind of shastra or instruction by which you can arrive at this discovery. You have, as mother says, you have to want it. The mother and Sri Aurobindo, I'm referring to them. You have to want to know yourself, yes? And that will lead you through the texts, through all the studies. You will find your way once you have that intention to discover your soul. This is an amazing thing. Then all the knowledge will shine onto you. Upanishads will open up. The Vedas, there is the Rig Veda, which is even more profound than Upanishads. There is something there so fundamental, so deep, so luminous, and nobody tapped into it. We look at it, it's some old text, ancient text, about some religion far away and sacrifices. Not at all. Yeah, we didn't discover that knowledge. As Sri Aurobindo says, the first and the most important is the discovery of the ancient spiritual knowledge in all its depth, in all its splendor. The first task for India is this discovery. The second is to apply this knowledge to psychology, philosophy, science, even all the sciences, but charged with this light of knowledge. And the third, to create a new society on this ground. Three tasks he puts. First, discovery. Second, application. And the third, the creation of a new society. On the ground of this profound Vedic knowledge. Where are we in this? Look at ourselves, our institutions, universities. We are nowhere. We are at the beginning. We are still following some format. God knows what are we doing. Yeah? From the West, imposed on us, uh, given to us as if it is a final truth. And they are doubting it every time. Every 5 years, they change the paradigm. So, because they don't know what it is. And we follow that as if this is the example to follow. No, you have the depth. Turn towards your own treasures. Find the truth there and start from there. Your discovery. This is amazing. India has so much more to offer than you think of.
So there is another question for you from a student. How do you find interest or motivation to study in Indian ancient texts like Upanishad? What's your motivation?
Yeah, I just spoke about this. This is the motivation to know yourself. Yes. And where would you find those texts which help you to know yourself? Here they are. They are all waiting for you. Vedas, Upanishads, Gita. This is my Gita. Here it is, you see. It's with me 30 years, this small Gita, you see, so yellow already. I read so many times. 700 shlokas only. I bought this book from Gita Press. Gita Press, you know how much it was? 1 rupee. 1 rupee Gita. You take this book and you will discover yourself. Believe me, everything is here, but you have to want to know yourself. If you don't want to know,
Right.
this will not help.
Manoj, you have a question for sir?
Yes, finger pointing. Right.
Manoj, do you have a question? Okay, so there is an uh, yes, please go ahead with that.
Yes, thank you. I hope it is you will really turn towards your knowledge. Once you do this, you will never regret it. This is the best investment you can make into your life.
Sir, there is another question from one of our Sanskrit students. She is asking what is the difference between the ordinary knowledge and the direct consciousness?
Ordinary bookish knowledge, yes. That you can be, like very like encyclopedia going around knowing all the relations, how much is this, how much is that, how much that weighs and this weighs and how this collides and that comes. This is all the objective knowledge. And objective knowledge without subjective change is kind of useless. You are like a robot. You're like a machine is used for creation of more of that stuff outside. Yes, of course, nature will use you in this way. You will be not useless, but for yourself, for your own self-discovery, it is kind of secondary, let us say, not useless totally, because everything is useful, but secondary. Oh, the major thing is really to, are you not wondering about this world and yourself and what is all this about? Who are we? Why this body is moving? Why it knows what to do? Do you want me? I will show you the most mysterious event, the most, how to say, the most sacred and the most unthinkable thing. This is very simple. I will show you and you will think of yourself. So now I tell you that I will raise my hand up and put it back onto my stomach. Now you know what I will do. Now look at this. But look at this. I did exactly what I said, and you knew what I would do, and you witnessed that I did it. Just think about this simple thing. It's amazing. It's a miracle of miracles. Everything worked. You sitting somewhere far away in India, and me sitting here in the US, telling you what I will do, and you witnessed it. I did it exactly as I said. This match of consciousness, action, collaboration, understanding of all put together. This is the greatest miracle. Don't look for other miracles. How consciousness functions, who you are. Who are we actually? This strange material thing embodies all the faculties, can see, hear, speak, think, feel the presence of the Spirit, communicate it to others. What are we talking about? Just think about even about this. What are we talking about is unthinkable. It's far beyond any material objective reality. It is something very inward, spiritual. What does it mean spiritual? Where is that spirit? Yes. It's here in the body. This is the miracle. And once you have that feeling of that miracle, of that discovery, you're caught by this. You can't be, indifferent to it. Everything else becomes secondary. All becomes secondary. Money, success, all that what society imposes on us is really such a. These are the means, but not the point. The point is you. You're the treasure of all. You are the embodiment of the Spirit. What can be more miraculous? So from here we start. Interest. There should be curiosity of how this all functions. What am I? Who am I? Really? Why am I here? What is happening, really? We are living all the time in the mind, in the consciousness. Don't you see it? We are hardly outside. 5% we are outside. Inwardly, we are constantly dialoguing. We are constantly finding the solutions. We are constantly planning. What is this planning? It's a miraculous creation. Yeah? Who knows what it is all about? Nobody knows.
So we have one more question in our chat box for you. Is our likes and dislikes are connected to the consciousness?
Of course. What else is there? Everything is connected to the consciousness. Likes, dislikes, as the whole list here was here given, yes? Medha, drishtir, dhritir, matir, manisha, jyuti, even speed connected to consciousness, slower, faster, smriti, memory, yeah? Sankalpa, intention, kratu, force, asu, beingness, karma, desire, vasha, possession. All these forms are just the forms of consciousness, yeah? Nothing else. If you start analyzing it in that way, you'll see, oh, there is nothing beyond consciousness. Everything is operation of consciousness. So you will be free from being caught by something, yeah? By like desire or obsession. You see, oh, obsession is a faculty, one of the faculties of consciousness. So you analyze it and you're free from it. The moment you start looking at it with a witness consciousness, you're free from any attachment. This is the gift of India, and studies of consciousness. I'm very glad that I met with you, and thank you for being kind and attentive, and so wish you all the best.
Thank you
Namaste.
so much, sir. Are there any other questions or anyone have any question for sir?
Well,
Sir, how this is, how can we differentiate or we understand the consciousness from the intelligent point of view, sir? Intelligence.
well, intelligence is one of the consciousness activities, of course. It is connected to the memory, to the formation of the mind and the language, and the certain time of upbringing, certain education, certain paradigm of looking at the world, mental structure. All these elements come together and they build this tapestry of relations, which we call intelligence. Intelligence is a lower part of the higher intelligence, of the comprehensive intelligence. Yes. So you will see layer upon layer. So to say, truth is hidden by the truth, as the Veda says. Intelligence is the truth, but it is hiding the greater truth. Yeah? And the greater truth hides even the greater truth. So it's like it's a beautiful tapestry of creation. Yes. So everything is here meaningful and useful and needed. Only it is misplaced in time and space. We are kind of giving too much attention to one element, forgetting everything else. We become obsessed, we become caught by it, attached to it, and then the disorder or the disbalance comes. Yes. You don't see anymore where you are, where this thing belongs, and so on. But even that disbalance is a part of a game of consciousness. And once you see that disbalance, you're free from it. It's just a matter of seeing. Yeah.
Okay, I think we shall conclude the session. Matthew, please take over.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you for such an insightful and enriching session, sir. I personally am in awe of how beautifully you put together your thoughts and your knowledge and how beautifully you portrayed it in front of us. We're extremely grateful to host you today. And thank you again for taking out the time from your busy schedule and being a part of us today. And with this, we come to the end of today's post conference session. Thank you to everyone for joining us, and I hope the session helped you gain a very fresh perspective and immense knowledge. Thank you again.
There,
You're all free to leave the meeting.
yes, and thank you so much. And there was a question how psychology can be defined as studies of the soul. I think so. You are right. Somebody wrote this. Psychology, psyche, psychic being. You know, Sri Aurobindo is using psychic being for the Antaryamin who is in the heart. Yeah, the psychic Chaitya Purusha or psychic being. Psychic being is the psychology. Yeah? We need this knowledge centered into in our heart. Hridi Guhayam. Yeah? In the cave of the heart, there is this Angushta Matra Purusha. Purusha in the thumb of man's, and there is a spark of the divine within. If we do not study that, there is no psychology. Something else, yeah. How things work, yeah, some behavioral psychology, biological psychology. These are elements needed for this knowledge, but not the very knowledge. Yeah? So if you see it that way, you will benefit much more from those things you are studying in the university also. All right. Thank you so much. Namaste all. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, sir. Namaste.